Hello, everyone, and you welcome to another appointment with the POOP, Progress Over Perfection. Today, we talk about the invisible system, why your nervous system is your leadership superpower. So, in this episode, we will dive into something most leadership books won't tell you, that beneath every deadline, every difficult conversation, every decision that you make, there is an invisible system running the show, your nervous system. Today, we are exploring what emotional intelligent leadership really means and why so many high achieving women are burning out despite doing everything right. Today, I'm speaking with Eugenia Gallo, a leadership psychologist and nervous system expert who works with professional women to lead without burning out. Originally from Argentina, Eugenia brings a unique perspective on emotional intelligence and workplace culture. She is the founder of the Women Leadership Society and is on a mission to help women shifting from overload to regulated leadership. Eugenia, benvenuta. You're welcome. How are you?
Thank you. I'm good. I'm very good. Thank you for the introduction. That was pretty awesome.
Well, I
How
try
are
to
you
get
doing?
better in doing these things. Eugenia, can you tell us a little bit about you and what take you in this space, in this beautiful work that you're doing?
Well, not everyone knows, but I come from a corporate background. So I did 2 bachelor degrees a long time ago. I'm a certified public accountant and business administrator, and I work for big companies like EY and SAP. And I come from corporate. Unfortunately, I didn't have then someone who guide me with not burning out, and I kind of like lost my sense of purpose and what I was doing and what was the reason for me being there. And that led me into the personal development space, which was a blessing in disguise. So it took me out of the corporate, but it helped me to find myself. And that's when I got into coaching and personal development, and it really deepen my passion in understanding human behavior, why we work the way we do, why we behave the way we do, how can we take out the best of ourselves by using coaching techniques, psychology, and personal development tools.
Fantastic. I want to start with something that you are very fond about. You talk a lot about this. Um, you say that every workplace run on two invisible system. Can you tell us what are these systems?
Yeah, absolutely. So what you have is the most companies and organizations, they invest heavily in processes that you can see like KPI, system, workflows, a strategy, etc. But there is a second system running in parallel all the time, which and it's rarely addressed. So this is when you commonly find most of problems in teams. Some teams they don't get along well is the nervous system of people executing those processes. So you can, I'm just going to put an example, like you can have the best strategy in the world and you can have the best system, because I have like examples like I work in SAP before, but if the people running are chronically stressed, they're burnout, defensive, they're dysregulated, or they decision making quality drops, that's when communication deteriorates, that's when friction increases. And with this is it is very important to understand that leadership, which you have leadership in many different roles, especially in corporate and big companies, isn't about just managing work. And if you are hitting the KPIs and the deadline, it's about regulating the environment in which work happens. So those are the two systems that I talk about, their processes and people's nervous system.
Hmm. Because we talk about people here, okay,
Yeah.
many high achievers think I get the result, I hit the target,
I know, I
what
know.
do, yeah, why, Why do I need emotional intelligence?
Yeah, well, I do have what I say people because I specialize in women, but this I work in the past with men as well, and I see it as men too. The thing is, you can get the results, but that doesn't mean this is going to be sustainable in time. And this was my experience 'cause I was born high achiever. Like I am a high achiever. And most high achievers that I work with, they get the results despite the nervous system, but not because of it. So when you work with that pace, it's not sustainable. It's impossible. You can't sustain that in time. So emotional intelligence, what it does, it adds clarity under pressure. It adds relational precision. It adds consistency. It adds the ability to communicate assertively. It adds the capacity to see the problem before it gets too big as well, because you get to a place where you can really see in between the lines of what's happening, like what's not really working, what the team is not communicating properly, why we are achieving the KPIs, we are doing everything, but it doesn't feel good and it doesn't feel right. So it is the difference mainly between pushing harder and deciding better. It is the difference between reacting faster and responding strategically. This is one of the main keys that you get when you develop emotional intelligence. You can respond. You stop reacting to everything. And this means that instead of having short-term wins, you will get to see and you will get to a point where you're thinking about the goals in the long term, and you can have the performance to make that happen and be sustainable with time. So it doesn't really replace competence. And this is what I say to the high achievers. Like, it's not that you're not doing your work right. You can actually multiply it and be even better with learning EI. Does it make sense?
Certainly, but can I ask you, because I'm working with couples, okay, and
Yeah.
I try to teach emotional intelligence to couples. Can you tell me what is emotional intelligence? Because it's not just about be able to see the future, but is to be able to connect with others people to achieve to get better things. Correct? Can you explain what is emotional intelligence for the people do not understand what is about?
Emotional intelligence is the ability to feel, understand your own emotions before someone else, because that's actually it's not being emotional intelligent, it's being sympathetic with what someone else is going through. It's having the ability with your own emotions to recognize them, to understand them as, because they are just information, this data or what's happening in the environment and how I feel, and like taking that information with you, understand what is happening aligns with your goals and values, and then from there make a decision that is aligned with who you are and who you're becoming. That's
I
emotional
love it.
intelligence.
I love it. That is emotional intelligence. This is a very brief but very good explanation of what
Thank
is
you.
emotional intelligence. Now, let's talk about emotional residue. I hope I say it right. Is residue. What is it, and how does it show up in a professional woman's lives?
Okay, so emotional I think it's residue. Like we both have an accent, but I'm
Residue,
pretty sure
yes.
it's emotional residue.
It's
And
Spanish.
I know. Well, Italian, I'm Spanish, so we it's normal. But I'm pretty sure it's emotional residue. It's unprocessed emotional
Yes.
energy. So when we don't have emotional intelligence and we don't know to how to recognize emotions within ourselves, like what's happening, most of the time what happened, the person just swap under the carpet or ignore it or suppress it. The emotional energy that happens within your body, you carry that from one interaction to the next one. So it doesn't go anywhere. If you don't know how to process it, there are systems to understand how to process, and every emotion is different and every person is different. So it can be a bit complex at the beginning until you get really good at it. it builds how this looks in the workplace. We're talking about workplace in this case. It builds when meetings, for example, end without a closure, or you're having a conversation with the colleague, and you just have a conversation with your boss, and unfortunately that conversation didn't end up really well, and you didn't know what to do and how to process what happened to you, or how to address what happened in a better, more healthy way. So you carry that with you, and then that splits up in your team and impacts your team, for example. Or very common, conflict is avoided instead of address it. This happens when you don't know how to emotionally process, and because it looks too scary. This goes really fast. Is how your nervous system and your mind works with connection with your body. You feel so unsafe within yourself. That's happened when you don't develop emotional intelligence. Emotions feel scary. So this tends to make people avoid conflict instead of talking about it. It also pressure, for example, in workplace is normalized instead of talking and metabolize, in this case, like what's happening within you. And over time, this residue looks like irritability. It looks like burnout. Like this is one of the main cause of burnout as well. It looks like mental fatigue, insomnia, micromanagement, loss of trust, emotional distance, because people don't know how to talk, so they don't feel safe. They just avoid conflict. They don't talk about it, and then that causes distance um, between colleagues. So the team, what happens is, when you talk about a team, when you see organization, a company, they don't break because of a big event. Is the error through unresolved emotional micro moments that led to the breakup. And I think you can also relate that with couples. It's not just one thing that happened. It's like they don't address, they don't talk, or they don't process, etc., etc. And then you have this big, massive snowball of micro moments that were pretty crap, and everything goes to down the hill, and boom.
Well, do you think there is a particular type of leaders that reach this point? Because I can see there is a particular type of uh, couples reach that point.
Well, the leaders that reach a point is, Um, I would say the more traditional leadership, which is more about controlling and putting pressure and micromanaging and making sure that no one gets out of their role, or what they have to do, or even what they have to say. So those type of leadership, which is a very part of the old culture of leadership, it's I would
Right.
say, this is my perspective, it's more of masculine. It's a masculine trait with no touch of feminine leadership, so there is no trust, and that end as bad, not just for the leader but for everyone.
Well, yes. What you're talking about is what I described. What is the effect of patriarchy in men? White and black. No show vulnerability. Don't let other people tell you what to do or suggest what to do. Don't be open to changes. Don't be open to things. Very old style of living. I love the way that you explain it, because it's very easy for everybody understand what are these things, and all these things are really um, usable in what I do with couples. So yeah. So the next question, I would like to talk about window of tolerance. Yeah, what do you think?
Okay.
Can you explain the window of tolerance and what happens to our leadership when we are outside of that window of tolerance?
Yeah, sure. So the window of tolerance, which by the way you can train it, is the capacity of your own nervous system to stay in between the optimal zone of thinking, listening, deciding, processing emotions, And inside this window of inside this zone, I say like this because if you can see it as a graphic, I always use like the metaphor of a graphic. Like you can go as far as this graphic shows you, or you can see it as even as a window. Inside the window, you're able to get clear and flexible and grounded while processing, thinking, and listening. It doesn't mean that you are not going to feel, example, angry, or you're not going to feel sadness, or you're not going to feel frustration, or you're not going to feel stress or anxiety. Yes, you will feel that, but inside this window, and you know how much you can stretch in that window, how that big that window is, you can go and still be able to back to center. What happens when you go outside this window and you get reactive, you get rigid, or you can shut down. And this is more commonly when people burn out. So when they get this outside this window, this is when people are like that, like this. This is it. So leadership under stress, because this is mostly what happens to leaders, like we are always under stress. It's not about staying calm or pretending that nothing is happening when there is chaos around, when there are problems and you need to find solutions and you need to respond. It's about knowing when you are outside a window and having the tools to come back if that happens. So having the ability to regulate yourself when you are inside, and having the ability to come back once you got out. Like if things got really pretty bad, or this, like it's so much pressure and so much stress, because we all make mistakes. Like this can happen. It's life. We're learning, and it can happen there here and there. As a leader, you get out. You always need to be able to recognize that, to say sorry, and to find your way to come back. So what happens, this is something that I found very commonly with people in leadership. It kind of like gets very stressful because you feel that you are by your own. You don't feel as much as support. So coming out of when you get out of the window, it can feel very, it feels like you fail as a leader. That's how it feels. That's what I usually get out from clients, like say, like I fail, I made a mistake, and there's a lot of shame around that as well. So it can get pretty messy for leaders in this case. And this is usually when most of the big mistakes happen, when they got outside of the window, unfortunately.
Yep. Do you think outside the window there is growth or not?
I would say yes, and no, because you can have growth in learning how to stretch your window and still getting in, because from experience myself and experience with others and experience with client, usually when you go to the point when you go outside of the window, it's very tricky to repair the damage, or it can take a long time. And sometimes that damage, it cannot be undone.
Mm.
So I will be very careful with getting outside of. It doesn't mean that you can go out and we can get out and learn, yes, but sometimes the damage is so big on others that it's very tricky to repair that damage. Sometimes you can't.
Mm. Yeah, thank you for the explanation. I think, yeah, you're right. I was thinking why you were talking about this window, about boundaries, and if outside the window there is growth. You give me a very good answer. Now, I want to talk about something that today is important, patriarchy. Women are often expected to do both, competent and emotionally available at work, when men are not required to do the second. How does this double bind contribute to burnout?
It's a very sensitive topic, this one. Well, the first thing is to understand and recognize that we're wired differently. Like we're definitely not the same, men and women. What usually happens with women is that because from neurobiology, in the way that we are made, we are tend to be more empathetic and get in constant tune in with other people emotions and stress levels and what's happening, the things that have been said, things that have been unsaid. And it's something that we really don't get the switch off button. So it happens all the time. And we tend to do that at work and at home. So what happened with women is that we don't work and we don't perform in the same way, but we are expected to at workplace. And it doesn't work that way. It doesn't. So for men, it's more easy because you guys are single focus and you can really have the capacity. I would say not everyone. I would say the majority. But I know some of you are not like that. But the majority can switch off the button and go and do work and be productive and do amazing work, like hitting the KPIs and the deadlines and everything without getting concerned about how everyone is feeling, if everyone is stressed, blah, blah. And that happens for us, even if we don't want to. Like it's like we're working, but we're sensing everything. So we are more sensitive and it is more complicated to do what it is required at workplace because the way has been made. It has been, I always say this, like when work started, the workplace started, it was made from men for men. Not in a bad way. It was like, it was just how society was made. Women used to stay at home and men used to go work. So the work is displays and decided and everything, it is for men and we don't work the same. And that's unfortunately that gets a lot of stress because you get stress at work, but then you have a lot of people that get that same stress at home. So then they're fighting at home and having problems at home because we are overloaded at work.
Yes, again, thank you to answer this very tricky question about patriarchy and work. I'm going to ask the last question. What are the biggest myths about emotional intelligence in leadership?
I would say this is the biggest myth in emotional intelligence in life, that it is about being nice and soft and over empathic with no boundaries. I think that's the biggest myth. People think like, oh, but she, in this case, like, I'm specializing in women, it's like, oh, she will understand, she will be this, she will be this and this and that. So it is expected that someone that has emotional intelligence develop will take care of herself and everyone. So that's one of the biggest myths that I go with this particularly with women over their leaders over and over and over again. Like you have to set clear boundaries. You have to be able to say no and remove yourself. Like the other person, they do what they do, and then it's their responsibility to work on themselves if they want to, and to have the harder conversation sooner. Because if you're being soft and nice, the other person is not doing the part anyway. And the thing is that when you tolerate discomfort over and over and over again in an unhealthy way, I'm talking about it. You ended up becoming reactive and not looking after yourself anyway. So I would say that's the biggest myth in emotional intelligence. And you can totally see this in leadership.
Again, emotional intelligence doesn't mean being nice and being weak, but being more assertive.
Yeah.
Become more assertive, more respectful for others people, understand that other people go through similar things, and maybe sometime ask, are you okay? You need help, you know? How can I help you? A good boss is not the one to judge, but is the one to help the employee to do better. Yeah? What do you think?
Yes, that's true. And I will add that it is also the boss that has the capacity to see the person talent and where that person can shine and give the resources and space for that person to do so. With the challenge, yes, but being able as well to do that.
Mm. Thank you, Eugenia. We are at the end of this first interview. We were talking with Eugenia Gallo from Women Leadership Society. See you at next appointment with her, and we keep going to talk about women in leadership. Ciao.